Good afternoon and welcome to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here every Saturday from noon to 1. My co-host, Kim Hollingshead with Hollingshead and Associates, is with me. And Kim, I love your guest that you brought on today.
I love her too.
She is a boss babe.
Yes, she is.
And she's just amazing with all of the things that she has accomplished throughout her career. And not only accomplished them, but award-winning as well. So cannot wait. I know you're going to be introducing her, but just if our listeners are tuning in for the first time, I'm Tonya Esquibel with Cross Country Mortgage, been helping families in Middle Tennessee since 1997. You can always call our local team off the air at 615-300-0794 for any information that you would like to get in regards to maybe it's a realtor you want a recommendation to. We already know the wonderful title company and lender. But no, being serious, we started the show years ago to be able to bring education for our residents here in Middle Tennessee. And actually a lot of people listening from Kentucky too. So
Nice.
I'm glad to have you tune in every Saturday and support us as we continue to help bring education to the real estate market. So with that being said, Kim, I'm going to let you introduce your most special guest.
I'm very
and
excited.
we're going to have so much fun, and we have no idea where the show is going to take us, because
This is so
when
true.
us three get together, it's always fun. It's always educational, and also very passionate about just how we want to help people.
Yeah, just generally.
Yeah.
So our guest today is LINDY VESTAL. She is the Senior Account Executive at Hollingshead Title. And we are so blessed to have her. So I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about how we met first, and then we're going to learn all about you, LINDY. So one of my business mentors is Mac McClung. He's the owner and the builder for Vastland Communities, and very, very blessed to know him. He also happens to be, or Tonya, you're one of his preferred lenders, and he happens to be the owner of the brokerage that LINDY hangs her license at. And so we're all three very connected in this way. But he gave me a call at the time. It was 2020, and I was kind of burnt out on closings and title. And he called and said, "Hey, Kim, I've got somebody, you've got to meet her. Like, you two are so in alignment. You have to meet her. She's amazing. Just if you guys are just friends." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking to grow the title company right now." And he goes, "Yeah, you're an idiot. I'll see you at Urban Grub at 5 o'clock. Click, hangs up." That's a true story.
That is so Mac too.
That is so
I've known him for over 20 years. Yeah.
Click, hang up. I'm like, "Okay, I will see you at Urban." I'm like, hanging up the phone. And I go and I meet her, and it was like instantaneous. I knew the minute I met LINDY that she was a really special person. Had a huge heart, really a very strong believer, and just so knowledgeable, so experienced in all aspects of real estate, not just title, not just real estate sales, not just land, not just building, but all of it, right? And so we met, and I've been just very, very blessed to work with her ever since. Oh, also a CE instructor.
Yeah.
And teaches classes for us.
There's a lot of hats.
So LINDY, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being our guest.
You are so welcome. And that is, again, a true story about Mac. That's how he is. He knows really how to connect those valuable people in your life. So,
He does.
gosh, that was such a great introduction from you. It's just kind of hard to sit in this chair and just say, wow, okay, well, what do I do from here? So to give you a little bit of a background on me, I have held a license in Texas, which is where I'm from. Tonya and I have that in common.
That's right.
For over 20 years. So I have a small team also still there that I refer my business out to. And so they are there in Texas doing real estate, where I am here in Tennessee doing title, and love it. I absolutely love doing the title business. It kind of makes you an anomaly when you've been in real estate for as long as I have, and you also have that title experience. It's like speaking two languages. to speak the realtor language as well as the title company language. And that only came through experience. And as we both know, that experience is the mother of knowledge.
Yes.
So I can tell you a lot of what not to do, which hopefully that's going to help with the pitfalls for a lot of realtors. So the places that I've been in my past is I've been on the board for Habitat for Humanity in Texas. I've also been Rookie of the Year at my brokerage in Texas at Keller Williams when I first started. And real estate. And then I've also been Entrepreneur of the Year, Affiliate of the Year with Women's Council of Realtors. I have helped to start 3 nonprofits, one of which I became the executive director of, which is now almost 25 years old. That was just prior to being in real estate. So very involved in also the nonprofit. With experience comes, the real estate portion of it, which is both in residential, commercial leasing, multifamily, land, and development and multifamily. So my business partner in Texas was Terry Attaway, and she was both the developer as well as a teacher, and she taught those people that wanted to be coming into the market to develop in real estate. So some of the stuff I've done in the past, but here in Tennessee, working with Kim has really given me the platform that I've always desired to be in, which is helping other realtors and lenders to grow their business. In real estate, very often with top producers, you don't get to hear their secrets about how they got there or what they did. Some people share a few of those, but I feel as though being in this position, sitting in this seat, that's my best quality, is to share those secrets with realtors and lenders on how to actually build their business.
Absolutely.
So what we've done is we focused on that even with our CE
100%,
classes.
yes.
So our CE classes, I think I just submitted 3 more this past week, one on 1031 exchange as well as Appraisals 101.
Oh, great.
Those are exciting, great classes for realtors in this current market. So what we try our best to do is to sort of flatten out the curve as far as what you should know in your current market as a realtor and a lender, and then how to pivot and shift to make you very effective in that market.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And you have 9 years of experience in title.
I do.
Which is a ton of experience in and of itself. And this is the reason why Mac wanted us to connect, is because he just knew you were going to be just a perfect fit in every way. And with the CE classes, so we teach them over Zoom, we teach them in person. Obviously, education is really important to us. That's a big deal for us.
Yes.
But also on just an individual level, you really spend the time with agents to help assist them through the transaction when they have difficult situations come up. Sometimes they don't always want to call their broker, and they'll call you.
They do. As a matter of fact, we had a situation this past week. And I'll just, give you an example of kind of what I do.
I think
the
this
lender
is a great example.
Do you?
Yeah.
So the lender had called and she said, "This is a dead deal, Lindy. We received some documents that have killed this deal for the realtor and for us." And I was like, "Okay, so what were the documents that came over?" And the lender said, "Well, here's the specific document. It had to do with the termite report." And they received photos with it. So, yeah, Tonya. So I said, "I've had this happen. And here's what we're going to do."
Like, as an experienced realtor, you've had this happen to you on a deal. You knew exactly what to do to fix it.
Several times, because termites are a big thing in Texas as well as Tennessee.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
you just learn if you're going to save your deal for your people. And, we're all about home ownership and getting those deals done for our agents. We consider every single closing, every single transaction as if we're closing our own home. And so I would want to, as that homeowner, exhaust every possibility in order to purchase the home that I desire to live in. So very passionate about that. So I've been through this numerous times and knew exactly what to do, told the lender what we needed. 4 hours later, after the underwriter had already said, "This is a dead deal," she sent it to the underwriter. The underwriter wrote the letter and said, "We will have docs out tomorrow."
Yay.
Love those those stories.
days.
Yes. Another clear to close, as we call
right.
it, on closing day. That's awesome. We got to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about how you continue to help homeowners, educate us. And then also, I have my story of how I met you guys too.
Oh, wow. Yes, you do.
There's a common denominator there. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You can stay right in.
Thank you.
Keep
Let's
going.
do it.
All right.
What's our next segment going to be?
We don't know. We
just
just
don't
talk.
know.
We don't ever know.
Okay.
We can jump right into it.
Was I loud enough? And
You're doing great.
okay,
So,
All right.
You're doing
you
awesome.
guys want to powwow? Do you have-
No, I think we're good.
we're good.
I think
We're
you're
good. We're just
I'm
going to
just-
let it flow.
I get in my head of like saying your name wrong. It's going to like stutter me.
It's
I think.
okay.
Pretend like you're talking
VESTAL.
to me. I don't know anything about
VESTAL.
real estate, but
VESTAL.
Stole.
Talk to the person
VESTAL.
that doesn't know how to buy a home, or the person that literally like a
See, I keep doing
buyer,
it.
but the first time home buyer, someone that needs their hand held.
Okay.
There's a story I have to tell you about, Chris.
You make me laugh so much. You are so funny. You're like a little comedy act.
What'd she say?
You don't even know
What'd
half the time when you're being hysterical.
What'd you say?
VESTAL.
VESTAL.
Bestol. Like I'm a bestol.
VESTAL is like Italian.
Stole.
She's like
Stole, like a
stall.
stool. VESTAL.
Vestol.
VESTAL.
Vessel?
VESTAL.
Vestal.
God, I love you so
VESTAL.
much.
VESTAL.
Lindy is with Hollingshead and Associates, and she's on our show today. That is where I'm going. I can't do it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show here every Saturday from noon to 1. They had me laughing before the break, so I'm just going to go with the laugh because we're having a great time here in the studio teaching homeowners all about home ownership and real estate. If you would like to get some more information, you can call us off the air 615-300-0794, 615-300-0794. I'm Tonya Esquibel with Cross Country Mortgage. I help many families throughout the year identify the best mortgage program from them. And as I always say here on the show, everyone's financial DNA is different. I don't think you're going to find your best program out there if you just hit Google. So give us a call as your local expert. We have Kim Hollingshead, my co-host here with Hollingshead Associates, real estate attorney. And we have Lindy V, which is senior account executive for Hollingshead Title Company. So thank you so much, Lindy, for being here. And sorry, I was laughing coming into the break, but you brought a lot of great information, like across the board, as far as nonprofit that you've been a part of, real estate career. You still have a brokerage in Texas and title for the last 9 years, and falling into a place that you really feel that you're adding value to lenders and realtors when it comes to helping homeowners and being passionate about that. And if you're just tuning in, she just shared with us how she saved a homeowner. The lender called her. It was not me. I'm going to say that. It was not me.
It wasn't.
But they were going to lose the deal. And Lindy actually worked with the lender and the real estate agents to be able to get that worked out and got that clear to close and got closing docs and another happy homeowner. So, and that takes a lot of skill set in all those different areas that you've done throughout your career. So that's amazing. If you're just tuning in again, we opened up the show to hear Lindy's story of how she met Kim. Mm-hmm. And I, before the break, I said, well, I have to tell you guys how I met both of you ladies. And it is a common denominator. It is Mac McClung with VESTAL. He is the owner of VESTAL. He builds wonderful residential communities, commercial communities, developer. I've known him probably for over 20 years. And, you know, in this business, I'm a very loyal person as far as my relationships. And this lady, Lindy V, keeps calling me and emailing me saying, we would like to take you to breakfast to talk about title. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then she pulled out the common denominator and goes, Mac McClung said to call you. And I was like,
He did.
okay, I guess we're going to breakfast. And we met at the Marsh House.
We did.
And it was a beautiful meeting.
Yes, it
was.
Such an alignment. And we never talked about business. We talked about heart. We talked about Christ. We talked about God. Mm-hmm. And so I just knew it was an alignment. And, you know, throughout that season when we first met and today, here we are.
Yeah. I think it's been a really fruitful friendship for sure. We feel so blessed to be working with you. That's for sure, Tonya.
Yes,
so
it
grateful
is.
for that introduction.
Yeah.
Same. So, Lindy, since you are on kind of the front end of meeting a lot of different real estate agents and also lenders,
Yes.
what would you, just from listeners right now, what are some of the realtors' biggest concerns? And then what are some of the lenders' biggest concerns when it comes to maybe clients sitting on the fence right now?
Well, I'm just going to kind of give it to you straight, which is no one has a crystal ball as far as a market, but we do have indicators. So the largest indicator I think that realtors can see a shift in the market is to just look around. On almost every corner now, we see directional signs for open houses. And those listing agents are actually giving the buyer's agents calls back to get feedback. What does that mean? That means days on market, and we're starting to see a lot more inventory on the market. Now, for our sellers, that means that as we go into the selling season, if your home is not already on the market and you're only competing with 6 to 8 other homes that are on the market, then likely your home's going to sit on the market a little bit longer. So those sellers who are saying, well, I'm a little afraid of interest rates right now and purchasing a home, I always say, look, date the rate and marry the house. And we all know that's the truth. But what we're also seeing is that for a buyer that's on the fence, look, you're not having to pay $75,000 over appraisal value, but you're going to give up just a little bit over 30 years in an interest rate. So you tell me which is the better scenario. You want to put cash all in the beginning of it, or would you rather have just a little higher rate until we go into a market where the rates are starting to move back down? Over the market indications, since I've been in real estate, there's only one direction it can go. If you're in a buyer's market, guess where you're going to go? You're going to go to a seller's market at some point. Yeah. If you're in a seller's market, guess which direction you're going to go?
Back to a buyer's market.
You're going to go in the buyer's market. So the sort of secret sauce to this is looking at the indicators to see where we are in that shift. Now, as far as a realtor perspective on that, you do need to make your shift within the market. When you start to see us going into a buyer's market, you need to shift over into that market, specifically if you're a listing agent, with talking with your sellers concerning pricing and what their expectations are. Sellers have control over 3 things: pricing, availability, and condition. Fortunately, though, pricing overcomes a lot of those obstacles, but there are other ways of negotiating within that. So the listing agents need to be very aware inside of that market, as well as knowing their numbers within those subdivisions, price per square foot, days on market, so they can be the expert in that industry.
Have you seen, I know going into the fall of last year with interest rates rising, I think they were their highest around November. Kind of we saw on our side the mortgage like a slowdown, November, December, January. Are you feeling from your other lenders they're starting to see a pickup? Real estate agents are starting to see a pickup?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
And what do we think that contributes to?
Well, I said in January, when the feds only went up by 0.25%, I was like, hello, listing agents and also lenders, y'all should be standing on top of your tables dancing.
Yeah.
Because that means that we've been able to slow the spending down enough.
With inflation.
And, that's the whole thing. We waited so long inside of that cycle to actually take control of it once we had historic lows, that we had to really pull those chains back to stop that spending, which is what we've done.
Yeah.
What a blessing to have that.
I just don't know if they pulled too far back too quick, because it's so rapid. Like in my 27 years of doing this, it was the highest increase in such a 5-month period that I'd ever seen. And I think for us, we see it first, but then the consumers, even though we felt it in June and saw it, I don't think they really started understanding it until like October, November.
We have to remember those were historic lows.
Yes.
And so on average, our cycle basically goes all the way back. It's kind of like a pendulum swing, where we'll see historic lows and then we'll move back to a higher rate. But typically here in the U.S., we end up at our pendulum in the middle, right around 5.5% to 6%. You've probably seen that throughout your career. And so when we see that, if we've been in a historic low, but we're seeing no homes for sale and the market is really, really low as far as inventory, you're going to pay a tremendous amount more going into that home to try to even win the contract.
Right.
So fortunately, we're not seeing that right now. So if you're a buyer, I think you should be jumping into this market. I really do.
Yeah,
Sooner
now's
than
the
later.
time.
It is. It is sooner than later.
Yeah, so we got to take a break. Any last thoughts before we jump into the next part of the show?
Yeah, I definitely agree that sooner is better than later because rates, are where they are today. I mean, right? But prices are not going to come down, I think. Not much more than they have already, right? Because there is such a shortage in the market.
There is in certain areas in our market. We do still, and we're not going to be able to build our way out of that.
No.
Especially in Nashville. You're hearing some of the banks in California, technology related, Silicon Valley related. Guess what? There's somewhere where that technology has to go. And who has been at the forefront of that in the past 5 years? I'll tell you.
Very good point.
It's
Yes.
Nashville.
Yes, it is.
So, we are insulated, praise God, for that insulation. But, our market is definitely insulated on that. We don't have the back and forths.
Yeah, that is true. Even if we go back to, 2008, 2009, we just did not, we got impacted, of course, but nothing compared to what other parts of the United States saw. So great information, great advice. We're going to take a break, and we come back, we'll continue on and educate you on any real estate needs and questions that you might have as we're navigating through another new market. I felt like we've been saying that for every year, but it is. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you surround yourself with local experts. So stay tuned. You're listening to Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome back to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here every Saturday from noon to 1, bringing education for all of your real estate needs. So excited. Lindy V is in here with us, Senior Account Executive for Hollingshead and Title and Associates, and my co-host, Kim. Thank you so much again for bringing on an amazing guest, providing great education. That was my passion when I started the show years ago. And thank you. I'm learning a lot just from your vast knowledge of all the aspects that you've been in and out of your career. I love the nonprofit part, so we might have to pick your brain on that a little bit later.
Sure.
It's on my vision board at some point.
I know it is.
Yes, you do for sure. But we were talking about just the way that you work through this market right now is with lenders and with realtors. And Kim, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask her that she's seeing with some lending side.
For sure. Wanted to know if you had any advice for realtors in working with lenders and working with title companies. What's something that you wish more realtors knew about the kind of contract to close period during the transaction?
That's such a great question. That's kind of the secret sauce to all of this. We are, as a title company, basically your air traffic control. And so we bring all of the parts and the pieces to the transaction to a successful closing, or as CFPB likes to call it, consummation.
Yes.
So what I would like for realtors to know about that is, there's a lot of unknowns. When we start to pull title, there can be liens on the property. There can be, conditions for a lender to have with a buyer. And so my best advice to realtors is for you to maintain the calm and the control in that transaction. In other words, you're in a boat in front of those buyers, and the buyers are in the boat behind you, and you are taking on the waves. Now, if you are dragging your customers through those waves, it gets a lot higher on that back end. And so taking the controls of saying, look, I'm the negotiation expert. Look, I have resources available to me at my title company as well as my lender, and we are going to figure this out together. So instead of being the person to say that we have all the answers and that this is, going to be very difficult for us, you come from the aspect of I have resources available to me that I'll use. So that for me is the biggest advice that I could give to our realtors. That, and get to know your lenders, get to know the types of portfolios that they have in their lending, and so that you build that relationship. Because I'm going to tell you, when you have a great relationship with your lender and you are, helping to build business with that lender, they're going to answer the phone a lot quicker.
Yes.
to you than somebody that they just don't hear from.
Right.
So build those relationships, and then that's going to allow you to be more of an expert in that field. I encourage realtors all the time to create their concierge services for their buyers and their sellers. And we as a title company, when I sit down to talk to a realtor, we talk about those aspects of title that they may not be aware of, and how we can help to make it a more even flow to it. The other thing I would love for realtors to know is the time frame in which a CD goes out.
Yeah. A lot of newer realtors are not familiar with TRID. And that's the reason why we teach a Closing 101 class, is because, we are constantly educating realtors. They did not have the joy of living through 2015 the way that we did.
Yes.
And that beautiful experience, that time of our lives.
I went through that in Texas.
Whew, I mean, that was a time. So, so they don't know all the ins and outs. They didn't take all the classes at that time. And it's great that they can pick up the phone and call somebody like you to just kind of guide them through those timelines. Yeah, like you said, all they know is 3 days. They don't know tolerances, the buckets,
Yes.
everything that quite goes into TRID.
That's right.
There's a lot more to it.
There is. And then also, our title commitments.
Yeah.
That's a very important part of the transaction, because what we've basically done on that is we have done sort of a credit check on a home's title. I like to put it that way to our realtors. We do a little credit check, a little one, it's a big one. And we find the issue or problem, and then we are going to correct it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give our commitment to your title policy, because you receive an insurance policy when you close on your house to the title of your property, so that you won't have someone later on coming up and saying, oh, well, that house I inherited back in 1968. Through the chain of title, you have a policy against that.
We'll indemnify you against those losses.
Absolutely.
Well, and we prevent the problem. So when people ask me like, well, tell me about title insurance and why do you need it? I kind of relate it to hazard insurance that you would find, like your home and your auto insurance. Big difference is you pay the premium once when you buy the house, and then also, your auto insurance company can't prevent you from getting into an accident. So what they do is they take a look at your risk, right? Do you have good credit, your age, your driving history. But what we do is we actually research the title. We discover all of the defects. We fix them before you buy the house. So that's the reason why we're confident to give you that insurance policy, to say, hey, we stand behind our work to the point where we will indemnify you against any legal fees or any title claims that could arise in the future. And that's a pretty solid guarantee,
that you're getting. Extremely solid guarantee. And the reason title insurance came about in the first place was because landowners were coming back and they, had documentation. And so the poor person who had purchased it didn't have any information. So was born the title
Yes.
policy and insurance. So
Yeah.
it's great to know that. There's a lot of people who have never even pulled their title policies out to take a look at them or know who
Yeah.
it is they're written on. So,
Well, and we send our commitments to the realtors and to the buyer and the seller because we want everyone to be fully
To see.
informed. Yeah, and I would say most title companies probably don't send it to the consumers. They just don't want the questions, right? We're glad to answer the questions. We want everyone to understand exactly what this language means. What policy are you buying, and what are the exceptions to that policy? What does that mean? And then also for the realtors, I think realtors, especially on commercial transactions, should always read the commitment, especially on a commercial transaction, right?
Yep.
Do you see value in listing agents maybe checking with you before they list the home so there's no surprises?
That happened this morning. Yes, absolutely.
Because a lot don't do that.
They don't, and we can easily run a current owner search. It's free.
And it could be a train wreck toward the end of closing because the seller didn't know it was there. Then the buyer, maybe a lock's going to expire. There's extensions. So I think that is a lack of education with agents too. Is just, I say that from a title standpoint, but I used to do tons of training when it comes to condos. If you're listing a condo,
Yes.
Does it meet agency guidelines?
Oh, yes.
Did you ask your seller to do a questionnaire? Because so many agents just list it, don't check that, and then they get into a contract, they get into offers, then they get into a contract, and then find out maybe it's a non-warrantable condo.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly.
there's a lawsuit, litigation against it, or it doesn't meet budget or reserves. So there's definitely, like, if you're a listing agent, I think that's so important. And a lot of times if I have an agent call me and say, is this a townhome or is this a condo? And I will immediately email you guys to confirm that because that's going to decide how we're going to do financing
Yes.
Exactly.
right away. So I think sellers aren't accustomed to paying for the pre-title work search or the condo questionnaire. But I think if you're a really good listing agent, you would advise that seller properly so there's no surprises that come up through the process.
I totally agree with that, but we have good news for you. We will do an O&E report, which is owners and encumbrances complimentary for our
awesome.
listing
We do.
agents. So
It doesn't surprise me. Y'all guys are amazing.
now it does take us anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to receive all the information back
Yeah.
on that. But we also will do a full ALTA for a seller as well. So
Exactly.
the listing agent needs to know exact numbers.
Yeah.
Stranger things happen than, a siding outfit who came and put siding on your house 5 years ago did not remove the lien from the property. And it can, destroy your sale because we're trying to track down these people and, you don't want to extend the contract. So it's great to have that in hand. On our ALTAs, we actually can come up with exact numbers for the sellers.
Yeah.
So HOA fees as well as your payoff. So those numbers matter right now to sellers when they're negotiating.
Yeah, I think another thing that your guys actually just personally helped one of clients of mine. They basically thought they were going to buy a new home. The market shifts, so they've been kind of sitting on the fence for, since last summer, basically. Now they know they've got a really good value on their home. They are looking at, should I refinance? And was not sure what their liens were because they bought a long time ago. And so they thought they had a first, they had a second. So I emailed Hollingshead Associates. You guys got back to me. There was a list of liens that were on the title that the homeowners were not even aware of. And this happened to be someone had the same name as them, but if they would have listed the home, put it under contract and not have been able to get that information on the front end or on the front end of a refinance, I even do it on a refinance.
Yes.
I'm like, can we check if you're unsure of what liens are there, just because I don't want to get title a few weeks before closing and we've already spent appraisal money, we've locked in a rate, a lot of time and due diligence into that. So that was wonderful for them because they were actually I was able to send that to them. They were able to call your guys' office and go through it and start working on getting that cleared up. So if they do come to sell at some point, which we know at some point they will.
When they come to sell.
Yes, when they come to sell. Or even refinance, then they at least don't have, they
It won't
have
hold
done
up.
that due diligence to not have that issue.
Yeah.
So
that can kill a deal if you're further out.
Yeah,
on that.
absolutely.
So-
And then too, from the seller standpoint, they were just frustrated and challenged because they were like, why is this on my title? And kind of panicked, but you guys helped walk them through that, help them be able to research it and help them get that cleared up. So
Nice.
it will be a closing at some point. And
We're happy with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
we're happy to educate them and to walk them through that process, whatever amount of time it
Yeah.
takes. You know, there are also buyers who have like purchased on USDA. They've gotten down payment assistance who within, the first 7 to 10 years, it's prorated. And they have forgotten
Yeah.
that that's not
That's still
going to
there.
be a part of their proceeds. And so by
Yeah.
doing this O&E reports, we can see what type of mortgage it was and address that issue. So the seller's not coming up with, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to bring money to the table because I already have a contract on the home.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is so great to know. So if you're just now tuning in and you're a real estate agent out there, or even a seller, to have that courtesy opportunity to be able to just to check your title to make sure everything looks good before you list your home, that would be amazing. As a seller and as a realtor, do your due diligence. And even if you're a client looking at maybe refinancing, I know a lot of clients now are looking at home equity lines of credit because they want to get some of their cash out of their home or a cash out refinance. So that's great to know. That's Hollingshead and Associates. You can give us a call off the air for any additional information at 300-0794, 300-0794. We take a break. We come back. We're going to take a break. We're going to continue to talk about some of the added value that you guys are doing for all of Middle Tennessee, because you have more than just one title company. You're everywhere.
We do a couple of things.
Yes, exactly. You ladies are very busy. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. Thank you guys so much for turning. Okay, stop. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here every Saturday from noon to 1. My co-host, Kim Hollingshead with Hollingshead and Associates.
Hello.
And Lindy V. I was going to do it, but I did not do it. You have been such a blessing to be on the show and bringing so much education and knowledge, and just the way that your customer service is at your guys' title company is amazing. If you're just tuning in, we talked about, if you don't know what's on your title work, you guys have a courtesy to see what liens are there that you might not be aware of. We just had that happen with a client that you guys totally helped walk through that with them, help them get it cleared up. And whether it's a real estate agent and you've got a listing, I always recommend to do that on the front end so you know exactly. Your seller might say they only have one lien, but you never know what could come up. And then also, I know another new thing that you guys were talking about before the break was something that's pretty innovative when it comes to earnest money checks. And so that is pretty powerful just from the standpoint of as our city grows and everyone's time is precious. So
Yes.
I'm going to let you guys dive into a little bit of some of the other new things that you guys are offering to real estate agents out there.
Well, the listeners know Jagger because he's my executive assistant. He's been on the show a couple of times, and I think he's a fan favorite. He's certainly one of our favorites.
Yes.
He did amazing.
He's awesome. So we were sitting around one day, and I looked at him and I said, we got to make it easier for people to do business with us. Like, how do we make closings easier on people? Is it crazy that we're still putting earnest money checks in the mail and then waiting 5 days to see if it's delivered to the title company? Are we still calling and tracking down checks and just for us on our end, we would just receive checks in the mail with no reference information of where it went to. And I know a lot of brokers also face that challenge as well. And so we started doing some research together and found out, oh, wow, we can actually be TREC compliant. We can be CFPB compliant and, all the rules and regulations, all the state laws.
Keep us out of jail.
That's right. Because, we love being compliant. We're rule followers around here.
Yes, we are.
So, so the earnest money deposit system that we have is like a Venmo style for that. And it's just been tremendously helpful to all of our realtors and our clients.
And it's not a third-party app. It's totally complimentary.
Yes.
To our agents and their buyers.
Yes.
It does cost us, but we're willing to do that because this is such a tool for our realtors. There's a lot of third-party apps that are out there like Earnest. as well as Zochem, and it costs up to $25 to deliver that earnest money. If you are on the backside of this, if you're a title company and you're also paying for the app as well. So it's wonderful to have this kind of banking system because it cleans up our backsides of having to send out checks even on as we are funding a file and we're sending it out. We don't even send checks for the homeowner's insurance any longer. We don't send checks for any of those things because the mail system, I mean,
it's become so unreliable, right?
And the banking cost for lost checks and reissuance, and then the realtor or homeowner or insurance company has to come back to our office. So it just makes sense for us. Yeah. Plus, and I know we had discussed this earlier, there is such difficulty. And I'm talking to you realtors out there right now. There is such difficulty in getting a receipt back from a title company for your earnest money. And you have to have that as a realtor in your file for your broker, if you're not the broker, in order to be paid. So you're having to, at the very last minute, like hunt down and email and call a title company to, even give you any kind of receipt for that earnest money. So when you use this system, and it's on our website, as well as every single one of our signature lines has a link on there that says deposit of earnest money. Awesome. And so it's so easy to use. Our realtors then don't have to make a trip down to our office or send their buyers down there as well. And they automatically get a receipt.
Yeah, the lender gets a receipt, the realtor, the customers, they bind that contract on the spot as well. It can be done from a phone. It's just like Venmo, and it links to any bank in the United States. It's all fully secure. And it's good funds, right? So it comes straight to us. So I would say that, and then the other plus is the e-commission. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That's been like a favorite. Huge. Yeah, do you want to tell me?
Yeah, I do.
I'm glad you like that.
Oh, I love that one. So in the state of Tennessee, we are a one check state, which means the broker's check is not divided out. See, in Texas, you have a CDA and it's divided out. So the realtor and the broker get paid at the same time. But a realtor is always responsible for getting that broker's check back to their brokerage. Sometimes we run across a wonderful realtor who might have 6 or 8 of those in their back seat or trunk to deliver to their broker on their next trip to the office. And they know they're not going to get paid because the broker is waiting on that check. So what we've done is we have an e-check system. So the closing document and the e-check are sent by email to the broker at closing.
Wow.
How big is that? I think I heard a lot of realtors dancing on their desks out there right now, right?
Courier. It's funny because Jagger and I, again, it came from a conversation that we were having. I was like, tell me another profession where you have to do as much runaround just to get paid. Who else does this? That they drive to an office, they got to get the check, and then, or maybe wait for a FedEx.
And some brokers have got to wait for it to deposit, or they go deposit it. It could be like, I know some agents, it could be up to a week to 2 weeks before they get
paid. And I was like, who does that? Who has to this in this day and age? Are you kidding me? So we again just started doing research. I said, I don't want to do wire transfers anymore. I think that's ridiculous. It's too costly, and it's just difficult, right? There's I don't like not having the copies.
Well, then you have wire fraud too. That's really predominant.
And for a realtor, typically, if they're using any kind of a platform to upload all of those documents to, they have to have a copy of that check inside of their documentation. And so many brokers require that in order for them to be paid.
Well, it's great for the brokers.
Absolutely.
Their files are
phenomenal.
complete, and it's free to them. They just print the check and they deposit it like normal. So everything we're doing at the title company is all about trying to make it as easy as possible to do business with us, to get paid.
And saving trees.
Yes. That's environment friendly. There we go. All right, ladies, it's been an amazing show. Thank you, Lindy, so much for coming on. Thanks as always, Kim.
Thank you.
other thing that I wanted just to mention too is your new continuing ed. Get with Kim and Hollingshead Associates to find out what that looks like in Lindy, because those are some great classes that I feel like some agents need as this market is shifting. So be sure and tune in next week to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. If you'd like to get any additional information, give us a call at 615-300-0794, 300-0794. If you missed our episode today, you can always find us. It is on podcast, YouTube, Instagram, social media. TikTok's coming soon. So have a blessed week, and be sure and tune in next week right here from noon to 1 to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show.
Thank you.